myself stuck in the middle of the sea. I'll sail the world.
Hello everyone from wherever you're dialing in from, whatever time zone. Thanks for engaging on the last video and telling me where some of you are coming in from and where you discovered the Nurture Your Soul channel, and it's so exciting to have you guys here. So I'm trying to be better at being proactive and getting these videos out as quickly as they come through, and so that's what I'm doing. So recently a batch of interviews have come through, as many of you are aware, and so several of you have reached out to me expressing an interest in having me on a particular show or on a particular channel, speaking to a particular topic or a particular group. And I just wanted to address it a little bit. And I want to preface this before I go into any detail by saying I am not here to shun or put down any channel, any interviewer, anyone out there that's doing their own work. I think all of it is perfect, and I'm only speaking to where the story of Kelly fits into all of it, at least at this now moment, October 2022. Who knows, in 5 years, like some of my older videos that I look back and I made comments, things may have shifted and changed. In fact, they probably did, because this dreamscape is fluid and there's nothing that's set. It's a constant flow of motion, emotion, and vibration always changing. And so how could we not be shifting perspectives or understandings or intuitive knowledge? It's a continual process. So with that, I will start with the most profound invitations or requests for invitations. In the non-dualistic Advaita group, in the A Course in Miracles group, those two specifically that seem to keep this message on the proverbial edge, if you will. There's no desire to push through that edge or break boundaries around that edge. What happened here in the story of Kelly was looking at those groups, which are beautiful and I adore and I appreciate and I still enjoy. What seemed to happen, you're okay, bud. What seemed to happen in the story of Kelly here, at least, is a realization that to be in some of those groups, I had to speak a certain way. And I was approached in my own sharings and corrected in the way that I spoke in my own sharings. And some of the folks in those arenas still do that, and that's okay. There is a desire to control and see things through a lens that is spoken in one particular way. And what happened for me in that was a noticing that that was just another box. And that box didn't feel good like any of the other boxes, Catholicism, any of them. And it's not just religions or sects or followings, it's anything that puts the story of Kelly in a box. And it's not a resistance to it, which I'm so grateful and blessed to now see. It's just a lack of interest. If somebody feels a certain way about the way that I speak or the way I deliver the message, that's fine. There's the opportunity to just let it pass through, just like anything. And so for me, what I started to discover is, as much as I love every modality, A Course in Miracles, Advaita, all of the teachers who fall under those brackets, Buddhism, Catholicism, all of them have beauty in them. All of them are expressions being expressed in this oneness of God. None of it is intended to box us in. And if something boxes us in, it's nothing more than a new sect, a new religion, a new cult, a new box that we've allowed the story to boundary around us, forgetting who we are. The writers of this manuscript, which is forever unfolding, forever shifting, in the boundless aliveness, in the creativity of all that is, nothing is to be excluded. So I just posted a little meme today that someone had sent to me that really set the stage for this, and I'll include it in the video. But I laughed, but I felt it when I saw it, because when I'm around now people who want me to stay in their box, for them to feel comfortable, the language that I use or the way that I decipher the message that seems to be coming through doesn't sit or land right for them or align for them, and they seem to come at it with a correction or did you mean to say, or aren't you referring to, or any of that, I can just love it. I can just love it. I remember that was the way of it for the story of Kelly. She felt like she was somehow serving by direct pointing people where they seemed to be stuck, forgetting that that only is arising for me to see if it's still thriving here, to see if it's still part of the story. And it's not. So there's no desire for anyone to speak a certain way, for anyone to love a certain way, for anyone to formulate their sentences in a certain way. Whatever is coming up and out of this avatar mouth, especially when I'm taking the moments to allow the energy to be that of the God Squad and not of Kelly, it's all trusted just as it comes. Could it change? Why wouldn't it? Could it be different? Why shouldn't it? Could it expand or could it reduce? Absolutely. The narrative is not in my control, and the desire to control the narrative is no longer here either. So I guess what I challenge to those who are reaching out saying, I really loved when all of your speaking was through the language of Advaita, or I really loved your speaking when all of the language was through A Course of Miracles. Ask yourself today, do I need Kelly and the God Squad to be in my box for me to be comfortable? Or perhaps is maybe she showing up to poke some holes in my box? Maybe not. I don't know. I just know there's no interest in areas where there's exclusion. Exclusion is just fear-based need to control. It's a need for language to come a certain way. And I've seen it. There's some folks who have gone off and created these groups. To be in those groups, you must speak a certain way. Heaven forbid you say there's a self, or you point to something that's a thing and not a no thing, or heaven forbid you don't decipher A Course in Miracles language perfectly. But if you use the same tools you're pointing to unravel what's just been said, each of those will show you that your desire for it to be the way you need it to be is in fact opposing the very view you're pointing to. So it becomes pretty hysterical. A Course in Miracles in itself says that this language that we have to use to communicate to each other is nothing more than symbols upon symbols, thusly twice removed, meaning nothing. So how can anything that comes through a clanging symbol be wrong? And yet, how can it be right? It's why you hear me say often, words won't do this justice. Or you hear me say things like, I'm not a teacher. And if I proclaim to know anything, if I proclaim to be teaching you anything, run and don't come back to this channel ever. But if something resonates here and it feels more truthful and authentic than some other area where you feel restrictive, you almost have to get into the mode of, okay, I'm getting ready to go in that group. I better be mindful of how I'm communicating in there. I better be mindful of the language I'm using. I better be mindful that I'm only showing up using verbiage that those in that group welcome. I don't know. Maybe challenge that a little bit. And maybe find that it's just another story calling you into another place that's just another box to be seen through, to be passed through, to be left behind, or to condense into something that's more meaningful and beautiful, which is just that it's all meaningful and beautiful, and none of it is meaningful and beautiful at all. So that was the simplicity of the message today. This, whatever it is, prefers no box. And the boxes that appear now appear to be uninteresting. They appear not to be welcoming. They appear not to be comforting. And that's okay too. There's just a dissipation of desire to frequent those areas. It's not a resistance. It's not a removal. When they arise, they're loved. When they depart, they're also loved. No expectation and no clinging. Are you allowing people to speak authentically from their hearts? Or are you editing as they're speaking? Is the richness in your relationships with other people such that when they're speaking, you just see the beauty of their face and the music of their voice? Or are you continuously storifying every word that comes out, judging it as it's coming out, manipulating it, all which is thought-based and fear-based, none of which is you, by the way? Or is there a presence that's so welcoming and so inclusive and so unconditional that it just says, when you speak, it's like angels to me. When you look into my eyes, I feel like God is with me. When you welcome me just as I am, I feel seen and heard. And then I go out into the world and I'm able to offer that to others. Isn't that what this is all about? Us walking each other home? That's sure what it is for me now. Thank goodness. Thank God. Thank God, squad. By the way, many of you have sweetly messaged me saying how much they love that I call this guidance team my God Squad. And yes, you're welcome to use that. What happened for me is there are so many in my God Squad that I would literally sit there and name them off, and it'd be, 5 minutes of just calling forward all that I wanted to include before I even got to the message. And then I started laughing at myself because it's not something separate from me that needs to be called upon. And yet, again, to be able to communicate to it, especially when you're speaking out loud, we need something to point to, these symbols upon symbols. So God Squad for me is that. It's all the support on the other side. It's all the support of anyone that's here. And it encompasses and includes everything. So yes, use it. Take it. Make it yours. It's fun. This is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be us sharing with one another. None of this belongs to any of us. So if we think we've coined a saying, or we've locked down some type of a methodology or a teaching. It's just another box, guys. It's just another box. Now, I still put my logo on my stuff, and I do the things that the 3D world does, but there's no fear base behind it. There's no, oh my gosh, someone's going to steal my photo, or someone's going to steal a technique. None of this belongs to me. Oh goodness, that must have been a good dinner. None of this belongs to us. Isn't that beautiful and so free? All of this is an invitation from God, an expression of boundless love. Anything that's excluded is just another box. We don't want to be boxed in, do we, my love? No. So we put the glasses on and we see the peoples, and we wish you well. We thank you for joining us. Until next time. As always, much love.
Count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah.